Holy shit. Talk about full-time obsessed mode, boys and girls. I wow. I went from not a thought about this whatsoever to completely altering my entire man cave into a podcast studio. So I came to the realization of a few things. And those of you who've been watching me uh, unfold this process before you kind of get it, but for those of you who don't keep in touch or just haven't, life happens. I get it. I'm not salty about anybody. Life life does happen. And that's kind of the point of all this. The point of all this is I have something that I need to do, and I think the fact that I keep obsessing over this is exactly why I need to do it. And things have been coming into my life that have kind of been pointing me in the right direction, like people, situations, and just making new friends and overcoming a lot of different scenarios and whatnot. So here we are. This is the Dust Off the Mic podcast, and I am your humble host, Dustin Yellowitz. So to kind of put a start to all of it is I've always had a dream of laughter and making people laugh. It's one of the few true joys in life that I have, from being class clown as a kid to high school, trying to do talent show stand up and not being allowed to do the stand up because I was a little too offensive. Go figure. To doing stand up with my brother and my father and a group of just amazing people, even when I was down my dark path, you know what I mean? I still did it, and I still enjoyed the camaraderie. I enjoyed the same goal of a comedian usually is, because enjoyment is our enjoyment. When you enjoy us, we enjoy everything in life better, And again, I took a different path. I got into a lot of trouble. I got, we'll get into it. But at the end of the day, a lot of time has passed, and the days of me having to stand by the door at the open mic because it's a bar, and just being allowed to do my 8 minutes, waiting 2 hours to do my 8 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever I was graced with, to going down a real long, dark road to a really enlightening, beautiful road, and starting back up on comedy and trying to really get back out there. And then pandemic, say no more. And then I became a father. And not only did I become a father, but I also became a stepfather. And I became, a significant other and a homeowner, I've been in sales for a little over a decade now. Roofing, siding, cars. Big chunk of it was car sales, and we'll probably get into that a lot too. I do plan on covering a lot of that, because I got to tell you, the general population doesn't realize how shitty you are to salespeople. And we'll be getting into that at some point at Dust Off the Mic. And somebody was asking me the other day, why Dust Off the Mic? Well, a friend of mine had said, well, you got to incorporate your name in it. It's like your brand. You got to do it that way. So okay, Dustin. I'm not going to do any of that. But again, my dream has always been to be either a comedian or spread laughter or get to know people and interact. And I've met so many crazy fucking people over my lifetime that it would absolutely be insane for me not to get them on some sort of an interview and bullshit and joke around and talk about crazy shit. And listen, I don't have any delusions of this making it big or not, but at the end of the day, I am dusting off my old dream. I'm dusting off the mic, and I want to hear from people that are dusting off theirs too. I got people that are trying to create, art centers, and a guy who's, full-time detailer, guys cutting hair, and comedians, and people that are just met with the same daily dick that we all are. Forced to suck the same daily dick that we all are. And yet they're still grinding it. They're still grinding out. They're still following a path, and they've told themselves, you know what, life kind of does suck, but I'm not going to suck it. You know what I mean? And to say that I've been going through a transitional period over the past few, I'd say a couple years at this point. From moments of having enough of one scenario to forcing myself to shift and change, and meeting that challenge head on, and going through that, and scaring the shit out of myself, to be honest with you. I very rarely, even though I'm kind of a lunatic, and some of I very rarely will put my whole life into a sporadic situation just because of feelings. But I also learned a long time ago that if the obsessions become finite, and it's it's not looking like you should be somewhere, it's time to go. It's time to go. And we'll get into it. Maybe cut that last 30 seconds out, Jason. I don't know. It's a cool thing that I can probably snip that out, because I will probably ramble on. Anyway. So, dust off the mic. I'm not going to give you the whole background. I want people to dive into this a little bit and get to know me, as my guests will share their experiences. I will share mine, and I'll get through my story as they get through theirs. I don't want the show to be about me. I want people to get their names out there. And we live in a world right now where the information coming at us is instant. It's not only instant, but it's just vast. There's so much. There's so much coming in from all angles, and there's so many opportunities to reach out. And I gotta tell you, there's a lot of fucking crazy people out there, but there's a lot of fucking G's out there too, man. There's some crazy good people out there. It's not all bad. It's not all what you see on the news. It's some fucking real people out there. Flesh and blood, families of their own, just trying to grind it out, trying to figure it out. Now, mind you, there are always the people that will just kind of, float through life. And you know what? If I knew a way to reach the people that just don't want to amount to shit, trust me, I'd be doing it. But I don't. And if a decade in sales taught me anything, it's that even when people know what they fucking want, they have no fucking idea what they want, man. They have no idea what they want. And even when somebody's telling them, I see what you want, and this is what you want, they're fucking clueless. Oh my God. So anyway, let me start from the beginning. I grew up in a small town in South Jersey. I'm going to keep a lot of the information vague for reasons of, one, I'm not sure what statute of limitations is, and I'm not trying to jam anybody or myself up. So names, exact locations, all that shit will probably not come out of my mouth if I can remember to not say it. Grew up in a small town in South Jersey. My a lot of love in my family, man. My mom and my dad, very supportive people. And very loving. They, in their own right, just weren't vibing. So they did what most parents do in America, and they got divorced. And I feel like I was young enough to kind of take that and see it for what it was. It was so early on, and I wasn't super affected by it in a sense of is this because of me? Because, well, first of all, I'm sure I was a narcissist from day one, and I'm like, nope, definitely not me. Definitely not my problem or fault. But anyway, and but I acknowledged at an early age that this is something my parents did because they needed to move forward in life with the most amount of happiness available. And with each other, that was not possible. And I got that very quick. My brother, not so much in some senses, but, it eventually clicked a little bit later on in life for him. And, but, both my parents remarried, so now I have fucking 4 parents, double sets of grandparents, everything. So I'm just surrounded by love and support and opportunity. And, so to say that anybody comes across like a linear path, regardless of where you start, it has to be a specific spot that you start at to go down a certain path. I don't know. I'm just trying not to ramble too much. if you go down a certain path, people expect you have to come from a specific place. Maybe you were poor, or maybe you were a different race or anything. But nah, dude, I was. I mean, we weren't rolling in it, but we had enough money to be in a fairly nice neighborhood, and we didn't splurge a lot. So my mom always hustled hard to make sure we had what we had, and we didn't do a lot of fancy vacations or trips or whatnot. It was mostly campfires at the fireplace, and rolling up in a blanket or a sleeping bag in the backyard, and camping. You know what I mean? It is what. Damn, I just keep punching the shit out of this desk. Anyway, episode 1, working the kinks out. But so here I am. But again, kind of going back to the point of, you know, where you start doesn't necessarily matter. It almost never does, I would imagine. A lot of it is drive. A lot of it is presented opportunities and feelings, and a lot of chemistry that honestly I'm too stupid to really deduce. So, I did what most suburban white Jewish kids do, and I got partying. You know, started smoking weed and drinking fairly early, 11, 12, just for fun. And, I always hung out with older kids. So, I knew where to get everything. A lot of people like to hang out with me because I've always been like a social chameleon. I can always blend with a crowd. I've always had this ability to go up and talk to people. I've always found other people and their lives and their stories to be fascinating. I've always found it to be just one of those things where I had a very high opinion of myself when I was younger, and I always sought to meet everybody and love individually. And come to find out, this would probably be the early basis of the foundation in which I walk my life now. So I would go up to all these older guys and all these older girls, and we were there partying and smoking, drinking, and having a great time, and it was fun for a long time. For a long time. It was a blast. Some of the best friendships I've ever made were from just fun, getting wasted and doing stupid shit, and your buddies daring to do crazy shit, or like I'm jumping off of roofs through metal trash cans and fucking climbing into drop ceilings and try and reroute yourself through a wall while tripping on peyote. I mean, I realize. Let me back up. Let me back up. Sorry. So that's a perfect example of an individual story that we'll get through later in life. But no, I mean, it was fun, man. Best friends, man. Best friends were made, just from getting enjoyment out of a simple life. Growing up in South Jersey in the suburban area, there's not a lot to do, dude. Except going around the woods. If you didn't have a lifted truck, you're limited on some choices. You got two choices. You can go 15 minutes one direction and go to Philly, or you can go 15 minutes another direction and start heading towards the shore, or you could stop halfway towards the shore and go out into the middle of the motherfucking woods, and then you start hearing banjos and shit, and trust me, I hung out with plenty of them too. All walks of life are welcome in my eyes. Starter pack, trust, and respect is how I proceeded with life. Everybody I would meet would get that starter pack, and you can either upgrade or you can downgrade from there. Super easy to upgrade, but also super easy to downgrade, and I'm a quick judge, man. I'm a quick judge. And once you've gone down below a certain point with me, it's very tough to go back. And I started learning this at a very young age, man. And then, I started meeting people that were like, yo, man, you think weed and drinking's crazy and shrooms are crazy. You should try this. And busting out pills and busting out coke and busting out, you name it. You name it. I was in high school during the big old Rockasset Perk 30. I mean, to say epidemic is kind of cliche at this point, but it felt like that, man. They were everywhere. They were everywhere, and they were at every party. They were at every school corner, inside of high school, and everything like that. And Lordy, did I love me some pills. Oh, give me all of the pills. And again, started off as fun, like it was. Used to call them party enhancers because they just made I'm sure most people that have signed on to this to watch this episode have probably done drugs. Let's get that safe assumption out of the way. So we're gonna do that. And you know, it started something crazy, man. And then you know, pills became coke, coke became, you know, let's hang out with these biker dudes and let's get ourselves a motorcycle and let's hang out at crazy wild bars and let's go to parties at Temple and let's go to parties at Rutgers and Rowan, and it became carnage. And I got to tell you, by the time I was out of high school, I was almost full on chemically dependent on something. Nothing specific. Nothing specific. Just something to keep me going. If I was way too up, I needed something to get me down. If I was super down, I just needed something to get me up so I can get to the next point in my existence. Not life, existence. You know? You know, without getting into too excruciating details, man, I hurt a lot of people along the way. A lot of people. So if there is a rare chance that this podcast or me get to a point where motherfuckers are Googling my ass and trying to get some dirt, it's not going to be hard. It's not going to be hard, motherfucker. I just asked, like, when you look at it, just know it was a long time ago. You know, and even the semi recent stuff is kind of fucking hilarious in a weird, morbid way, but it was, you know, the most recent thing I'd ever gotten in trouble for was actually just dumb, and we'll get into that later on in life. But, you know, I hurt a lot of people. Hurt a lot of people along the way, man. My parents, most of all. My brother, you know, friends. Holy shit. I'm amazed I still have friends from that time. I'm amazed I still have friends from that time. I was what we in people in my position would call a ninja fiend. A ninja fiend. It's not an actual definition or a term that people really say, but amongst my group of friends, I've been referring to it as ninja fiend. I was that friend that was so charming and so funny, and the guy that wanted to hang out with, and I would become your boy, dude. I would be your best friend. I'd get you so goddamn close you could never even suspect me, and then I'd just rob the fucking shit out of you. You know, fiend shit, dude. And drugs do that to you, dude. You become like a feral animal. You become like this little rabid version of yourself. You know, you got no weight to you. You got no fucking mass to you. But you think you're big as shit. Always and forever think you're big as shit. Because the drugs are doing the thinking, man. It's not you. It's not you. It's the drugs doing the thinking. And I gotta tell you, the drugs did a lot of my thinking. You know, family members, girlfriends, an ex fiance, fucking boys, dude. Friends, dudes that I was friends with for years. I would burn bridges, repair bridges, start new bridges, and burn the fuck out of them. I must have had a civil engineering degree and a demolition degree in fiendology. You know what I mean? Oh man. Till one day, you know, it it blatantly just got slapped into my face that it was no longer about partying. It was no longer about fun. It was no longer about enjoying myself and that innocent like expansion of my mind around people that I enjoyed had become survival, and it became crazy, man. Parents didn't want to talk to me, brother didn't want to talk to me, ex-girlfriends, friends, whatever, it doesn't matter. Nobody, anybody who knew better, anybody who knew better distanced themselves, and I have no hard feelings, people. None. None at all. Anyway, so it took me getting to the lowest point in my life, and you know, certain crimes were committed, certain nasty things to acquire drugs were done, and you know, some an unlikely source, a police officer, and you know, I'm in communication with people to try and track him down. I'd love to get him onto the show and talk to him for a little bit. I've seen him since I've gotten clean. You know, I mean, I still smoke weed and all that stuff, and I've had one drink since recovery, and I bitched it out. super hard. You know, on our anniversary, I had an old fashioned, and then I bitched it out, and I fucking dumped it in a Coke to try and bitch it up a little bit because I was too much of a pussy to actually drink a real fucking bourbon drink. Anyway, so it took a guy hunting me down like Dog the Bounty Hunter, and just knowing what to say. And I'd already done the 12-step stuff at that point. I'd been through it. I'd gotten time before. I'd gotten time clean before. And you can't really call it a relapse if you get 2 3 days. I mean, I really got some time, and then I'd fuck up, and then I got some more time, and then I'd fuck up. And then this dude convinced me after I pulled off some really dirty ass shit to somebody really close to me, you know, and he convinced me to turn myself in, and I did. And thus started a very long and painful journey of rewiring my thinking in my brain. And shortly after I got out, here came car sales. And I met a lot of phenomenal people in car sales and a lot of fucking psychopaths. Holy shit. Sales and people alone, just fucking bananas. Like, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up. So I started selling cars in 2012, 2013-ish, around that time. And, I hadn't been out long, hadn't had a lot of, clean time at that, as I would call it at that moment in my life. But one thing I had was my ability to talk to people, my love for making people laugh and enjoying the presence of high energy and all of that. And these dudes were fucking talkers, man. Now, I grew up Jewish. Holy shit. These motherfuckers were black belts in the art of verbal assault and negotiation. Now, the first sales job I'd ever gotten was through a really good friend of mine from 12 Steps and whatnot, and he brings me. He's like, dude, you're a good dude. You're great at talking to people. You're friendly. You're funny. You look like you can clean up well. Why don't you come sell cars? I'm a finance manager at this Nissan dealership, and I go, and I go for this interview, and I had this, and again, mind you, at the time, my family still wanted nothing to do with me. I'm in the building stages, as you would refer to it, and I guess thankfully, when my parents had kicked me out, they had stuffed in an old trash bag, like an old button-down shirt that I think my grandfather wore, and it had the pointy ass little collars and all that shit. It was really cool blue. And I'm standing in a recovery house in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and I'm putting on a tie, getting ready to go to my first sales job. And I'd seen car sales movies before, and I'm thinking, well, this is probably not all that. Damn. It's actually a weird Hollywood rendition of like a dramatization of that in a weird fucking morbid way. It's like that. And I go, and I'm dressed in what can only be described as hand-me-down duds. And I get my interview, and I get the job, and I start selling cars. And it was a very slow store, so it's sales, man. So it's 12-hour days some days, and you're sitting there with people who know the fucking way, man. They know the way, and they're trying to teach you. And I was very malleable. They caught me at probably the most malleable time of my life. And they took that opportunity, and they started honing themselves a weapon of sales, I guess. I mean, I'm not tooting a horn or saying I'm God's gift to sales or anything, but from what I was to what I am now is a vast improvement. Putting just a morbidly obese couple in a fucking Fiat 500 to go jumpstart the car that they came in 2 hours away to buy, and fucking arguing with Indian dudes because fuck how they negotiate. Just to becoming a professional, to becoming somebody who knows his way around a conversation and knows how to hold himself in a negotiation, and to not only sell things, but to sell himself, and to sell an establishment, and to be a face to a scenario and a situation, which I thought was huge. And some of them people, they would sit with me for hours, and we'd do what we call sparring, which is where you just go back and forth on like a car sales negotiation, like $300 a month to $2,000 down kind of shit, and we'd do that for hours, man. Some of the best conversations I've ever had were in between convos of sparring, you know. And it, you know, I left the first car dealership when some management change happened. The people that I really enjoyed being around had left, and it was no longer a friendly place. So I had left and gone to a Nissan dealership that's not an hour and a half away in Pennsylvania, but 15 minutes away from my recovery house at the time, and continued on my own path without the people that taught me what to do. And then I show up to this dealership. It's a lot more volume, and I'm really honing now. Like, I have all these things rattling around in my brain, and now I can put them into perspective for people, and I'm actually getting the volume to get that energy, you know, return on investment kind of deal. And I hone my skills, and I learned some crazier shit about car sales, man. And one of the biggest is it's very rare to find a sales floor that gives a shit, or a sales environment that gives a shit. And one thing you customers need to know is we are not as big a liars and pieces of shit as you think. Please believe me when I say half the time I just want you to tell me what the fuck you want so I could show it to you. And that's it. But you people make this shit complicated as hell. You really do. And I somebody needs to tell the customer, you're not always fucking right. Some customers are really smart and sharp and respectful, and they know where they want to be, and they tell you that shit from Jump Street, and then it becomes a conversation of, can I get to your requirements? And if I can't get to your requirements, you're not going to hurt my feelings, goddammit. But if your expectations are on fucking Pluto, sorry, you can't be $250 a month on a Suburban with no money down and a 650 credit score. It's not fucking possible. And the sooner the society realizes that you need salespeople to take all the fucking abuse that the managers would give you if you talk to them like this shit. Here's the thing. Car sales managers are not people persons. They used to be, but car sales has beaten that out of them, and they are no longer people persons. So you have to have a salesperson in between the customer experience and the management staff. Otherwise, violence will ensue. And the sooner you realize that I'm just a human being trying to fucking sell a Chevy Spark for a fucking $100 spot deal so I can maybe throw some extra groceries in the cart this week, the sooner you guys realize that, the better. And I get it. Don't listen. Car salesmen have earned it. I've worked with some crazy motherfuckers, man. People who, you know, from the ethical, omitting salesperson that'll just tell you how it is and won't ever lie to you, but he just kills you with the truth and you build a relationship, to the blatant liars who are the reason why people can't stand salesmen. And I get it. And then I've worked with people that are from the old school, man, back in the 70s, 80s, I guess. I don't know. I wasn't around, but I've heard stories, you know. And then the late 80s, 90s car sales, I used to work with a lot of these people, man. And they're fucking brutal, you know. But they came from a brutal environment. It's all about the quota. It's all about the number. It's all about, what are you doing for me now? It's a thankless fucking job. Thankless fucking job, sales. But all the while, you're honing a skill. You're becoming a verbal black belt, really. You know, there is no one I won't talk to. There is no conversation I won't have. Even the ones I don't have facts for, I will go into it in a learning position. I'm not a guy that has to lie for you to like me. You know? And you learn these ins and outs, and then I go to this Nissan dealership, and it's okay for about a year, and then the people that I had originally hung out with at Nissan, the first Nissan dealership, call me up and they say, dude, we're all here. This guy's here, and this guy's here, and all the guys you came up with are here. Let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. You know what you're doing. We want you here to do that. Let's fucking go. And I went, and for a long time, it was awesome. And we were making money hand over fist, and it's literally a floor of assassins, and then you get 3 or 4 guys that are the revolving door slot, and the multi-decaders that kind of just sit there and wait for the door to open. We call them dinosaurs. And then you make real friendships, man. You stay at a place for 7 years. 7 years, dude. You stay at a place for 7 years. You learn a lot about people. You learn a lot about your craft, and you learn a lot about yourself. And one of those things after 7 years was fuck the car business. You know? Fuck the car business, man. Being a car salesman was, I always used to wear it like a badge of honor, like it was some sort of badass profession that was like a, but at the end of the day, most people just hate car salesmen as much as they hate lawyers and the IRS people and I don't know, debt collectors or whatever. You know, so it became a little bit hostile. It became a little bit toxic. COVID had all happened, and when people get scared of the unknown, they take it out on a lot of other people, you know. And one thing about me is, man, I'm a very loyal person, and I will follow those I love in the battle, and I'll take and give a bullet for somebody if I respect them enough. And I'm a firm believer that loyalty is maintained. You know, you can have my loyalty, you got to earn it, but once you've earned it, you got to maintain it, and I sure as shit will maintain yours. That's how it's got to work. Car sales didn't maintain my loyalty anymore. You know, it became more about how bad can I make this person feel before they go home to their kids, dude. I was a new dad. COVID had just happened. My daughter was born 9/11/2020, the saddest date on the fucking worst year I can think of. And she's the one great thing that came from it. Now, mind you, I'd been a stepdad for like 8 years already, so I was grinding for my family, you know, and I was taking home a bad version of that to them, you know. If you get stuck in this 9 to 5, you know, grind, and you're going to a place and you're doing something that you're not passionate about, just know, without the proper tools, man, you're gonna bring that home to your family if you have a bad day. And all throughout recovery, at this point, I hadn't started smoking weed yet. I had gotten clean. I'd been clean for a long time, and I was just about the grind, man. It was just about the grind, you know. And when I say clean, all I do is smoke weed. That's it. That's all I do. I for the 12-step sake, yes, I have reset the timer on my clean date. Whatever, that's cool, man. I'm not the same person I was, man. I'm not afraid of what I'm capable of anymore. I actually have a lot of a lot of tools today and a lot of resources and people and I have so much to lose now. So much to lose. I have a family that I love and that adores me, and I have a new career, which I will continue doing, because I can guarantee you this ain't gonna pay the bills. If it does ever, it's not gonna pay it a lot. I hope I'm wrong, but I have no delusions of that. So I go through cars, and I get to this new, you know, camping spot, and I'm not going to reference it too much during the podcast because I still do currently work there, and it's a corporate company, and I'm not trying to say that my opinions are shared by those in which I work with. I don't know. It's corporate. You know, this is a world where we offend everybody. It's the last thing I need is some carrying out. Your employee said stuff about dicks. There was a comedian in there and he said stuff about dicks. Now I'm gotta complain a lot. So I don't need you calling my fucking job. So I'm not gonna say where I work, you bitch. Do the research. And if you're listening to my podcast, you know who I am anyway. Don't be surprised if I say some out-of-pocket shit. All right? I don't have much of a filter anymore. Everybody who knows me knows I love everybody until you give me a reason not to. I was once asked by a black customer, "You hate black people?" I'm like, what, like all of them? No. Most of them I enjoy. I hate a few of them, though. And I hate a few white people, and I hate a few Asian. Well, one Asian. And then there's like 4 or 5 of them I love. It's weird. So anyway, moving on. Yeah, Jason, just put this into whatever order makes sense, please. Because that was the ramblings of a fucking high dude. Anyway. So, I get to this new spot, and now I'm in a position where my expectation of how I should be treated and how I want to be is set. You know, I this is the man I'm gonna be. I'm gonna give people a reason to respect me, and I start grinding out, and you know what? I made a place to where I'm at now, and now I've created a world and a life where I'm homeostasis at home, and I'm homeostasis at work, and then I realized that once I've reached this point, I need to keep going, and and like I said, I've done comedy a long time, and I gotta tell you, with a 10-year-old at home and a 2-year-old at home, it is very difficult without piling all the parenting work onto your significant other. And I love Brittany too much to dedicate every not working moment to comedy at the moment. So until then, my itch is going to be scratched by this. I have guests coming. I got people talking sponsorship with me. The Dust Off the Mic podcast has officially become a passion project for multiple people. And it's going to be a platform for multiple people as well. Like if when we have guests, I'll have different cameras set up. Hopefully, and I'm still learning the technical process. I want to thank everybody who's donated artwork and given me suggestions on software and programming and donated gear for audio equipment. Fucking Jason, you're the man. If you're listening to this right now, editing for me, I fucking love you, dude. Like this is for me to know people like a year and a half and just have so much fucking support, you know, and just be having the ability to look forward to going somewhere every day and just knowing that when I go there, you know, the respect that I've built for myself is reciprocated in others, and I do it back, you know. And anyway, back to the sponsorships and all. My brother's store, Comics and Killers Collectibles, swag is all throughout this piece. You know, the Frieza is probably one of my favorites. Arnie, a lot of these are like stuff that you can get at his store. I have QR codes out the ass, and I will be having QR codes set up for my show as well. What do I have here? I have comedian Chris Smith scheduled for a tentative interview coming in. For those of you who know, he's fucking hilarious. He's one of our headliners back when I was first getting started in comedy, and he's just a genuine good dude. He's got a big plan coming up. My friend Eric Spinner, you know, he's a big Sasquatcher. He's agreed to come in at some point and break down the cryptid world, because we ain't just talking comedy here, motherfuckers. We going to outer space. We going to outer space, and you can't stop me. However you can edit this to not seem like the ramblings of a fucking crazy person, I would appreciate. Who else? Susie Reed, also a comedian and a good friend. And we got many more coming, man. I'm connecting with people, and I'm really like in full obsess mode, full on obsess mode. My rule over recovery has been like the rule of 3. If it is a positive thing, and I obsess over it for more than 3 days, I double down. And if I obsess over it for more than 3 weeks, I double down again, and 3 months. And then right now we're coming up on the 3-month mark of me making the conscious decision to start this. And I walked into my buddy's office and I was like, dude, this has got to fucking happen. If it doesn't happen, my brain will explode. And he's like, okay. Oh, man, I'm excited. I am. And again, thanks to everybody for the support. And if you enjoy what you hear throughout this process, spread the word, man. I'll leave enough information with all these videos and all these posts and stuff to get in contact with me for anybody that's just following the dream, who's dusting off their own mic. You know, I'm dusting my mic off. Which one are you dusting off? Is yours a fucking is it a race car? Is it a guitar? Is it another microphone? Is it these nuts? Please edit that out. Please. Anyway, that's me for today, folks. Thanks for letting me share.